Well, nothing good happens in November, does it?
I don't know. It's like the end of the year.
It's not, Christmas isn't here yet. You know, Halloween's been like, you know, all the fun stuff.
I mean, for some people, I guess the Melbourne Cup, people like the Melbourne Cup Carnival.
I mean, sure, my wife's birthday's in November. I guess that's good for her. But for the general public, nothing good happens in November until now.
What? What's going on? What are we doing?
TOFOP, us, you and me, we're returning to the live stage for the first time in 6 years. That's right, we are doing shows in Melbourne and Sydney. Melbourne at the Basement Comedy Club, November 11th. Sydney at the Comedy Store, November 25th. Exciting stuff.
These are our first shows in 6 years. 6 years since we last did a live show. Sydney Opera House dropped those microphones, pledged that we would never come back. Entertainment demanded that we would never come back. But in your face, entertainment industry, we're back, baby.
We are back live on stage, Wil and Charlie, doing what we do, which we don't know what that is yet, but we'll work it out by the time we get to the stage.
Charlie's been working on it for 6 years, he promises me. It's going to be amazing.
So November 11th, the Basement Comedy Club in Melbourne. November 25th, the Comedy Store in Sydney. Go to our link tree on our socials or go to tofop.com to get your tickets.
See you there.
A listener production.
The creators of this podcast would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which it is recorded. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are the first storytellers of this land. We pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, as well as any Indigenous people who may be listening today.
Welcome to TOFOP with Friends. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Wil Anderson.
And we're joined by the one and only Dave Anthony of The Dollop and other things.
Thank you. Hello, I'm also of TOFOP.
Of FOFOP.
Well, formerly
This
of
is a
FOFOP.
FOFOP.
Like, it's gone, man. This isn't FOFOP anymore. TOFOP with Friends.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what's going to happen with it's on pause because we don't know what's going to happen with Charlie.
It's a good point.
What do you mean,
it's a very good point,
health-wise?
right?
Or just like,
Well, just all of it. Like, nobody knows. You're a wild
you
card.
think there's some kind of
Well, I guess
scandal about
I mean, there might be,
I should
right?
shift right.
Look,
That's if Russell Brand's taught me anything, I should shift right now so that when the backlash
You've
comes.
got to get ahead of the
Yes.
game. That's right. If you know you've got a ticking time
Yeah.
bomb,
Shift right.
go to the alt-right. See, this was Louis' problem. Louis had to play catch-up, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
he was a darling of the left and stuff beforehand and then had to lean into the alt-right, who were the only audience left. Whereas Russell, like, he knew the trick is get ahead of the game. That way, when the shit comes in, you can just go, just the MSM trying to take me down, man, for telling you the truth.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, look, if you're anti-vax, you're really important, and they're going to take you down because there's so few anti-vax idiots on YouTube that your voice.
Well,
is
there
really
is a clip
important.
that they're sharing in amongst the alt-right circles to say, see this, and it's Russell Brand on like Bill Maher's show talking about how drug prices are too high. And I'm like, yes, because Russell Brand is the only person who's identified that the pharmaceutical industry perhaps has too much money and power. That's why they're trying to take him down.
Never has a scandal like this been improved by introducing Bill Maher into the equation.
We were ahead of the game though, Will. We did our Russell Brand episode a few weeks back, Russell's Brand, where you
Did you?
Will shared a story about Russell Brand apparently likes to, what does he do, Will? He
Famous. You might have heard this one actually, Dave. That this one hasn't come out in the articles yet. No one's
No one's
talked about
asked
this, but famously would have a pre-show shit and then leave it for people to see.
I told you this story.
Oh, you told me this. There you go. That's
Me
the
and
close-
Jen Kirkman.
No, I've heard it confirmed from other
So-
sources since.
but this is what happened.
Yeah.
This is what happened. I was at Largo last night doing a show with Russell Brand, and he went in the bathroom. He takes a dump. I go in there after him. It's just a floating turd. There's no toilet paper. There's no indication that anything else has happened, but a turd came out of someone. And then he just left. And he was wearing there's no way he could have had like a portable bidet or something. Like he just turded and left. And then I told that story, and Jen Kirkman said he did that exact same thing 3 weeks ago when I was there.
And since I've heard it confirmed from other people as well. Turns out it's way down the list of things that we should be judging Russell Brand.
Is it possible though? Is it possible that he has an asshole like a dog? You know how a dog can do it? A dog doesn't need toilet paper. It just it does the poo and it perfectly snips it off at the end and it's clean as a whistle.
Just slips out.
Do you think he has a dog's anus?
Even shit doesn't want to stick to Russell Brand.
His turds are so happy to be gone that they're like, no mess, I'll make this easy.
Well, I remember like back in the day, and this was my observation about like, because I don't know anything about Russell Brand really other than that story. And I interviewed him once like 10, 15 years ago, a long time ago now. And my big takeaway was that he was just like, the thing about him was he was an addict, right? Like he was an addict to whatever it was that was the particular thing at the time. You know, it was heroin and crack at one stage. It was sex addiction. It was like fame addiction. It was this like whatever he adopted, it became all encompassing and became this cause. And you've seen it like even that post, like without any of the allegation stuff, just his media career and trajectory. Like he tried the, darling of the left-wing alt media, and when that didn't really work out for him how he wanted to, he flipped it over to darling of the right-wing alt media. But it's always been like, you look at every stage of his career and he's just been one of those people who, if he's into something, there's no sense of moderation, all in.
I just didn't. There are comedians that I'm around that I'm like, I'm happy to talk to this guy and hang out with this guy and we'll go have a drink afterwards. And then there's comedians that I meet and I go, nope, I'm actually don't like your energy, don't really want to talk to you. Be nice to you, but and he was just one of those guys. I just met him and I was like, don't like it. Just I don't know what it is. Don't like it.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about this other stuff, but like I mean, other than like what he'd publicly talked about, right? Like,
which turns out there's quite a lot of what he publicly talked about.
Well, that's what I mean. Like for me, I didn't need to know any behind the scenes stories because what he'd said out loud. This was the point we were making about his views a couple of weeks ago because we got some pushback on having a go at what he's saying on his YouTube channel and stuff, and from some listeners going, you're misinterpreting him. And I'm just going, I wasn't judging him based on anything that I secretly knew about him. I was literally just judging him on what he had said and the way he had said those things. Like that's all I was doing.
Yeah, there was very fascinating. There's a subreddit called Low Key Conspiracies, I believe, which is just people being like, here's some really ridiculous conspiracy thing that I think is true. And someone 8 months ago said they put it up there and they just said Russell Crowe is going Russell Brand. Russell Crowe.
Let's not get Russell Brand
involved. Still trying to get him for our 500th
episode. Russell Brand is going right because rape allegations are going to come out. That it was clearly premeditated. He knew the audience that would accept and be okay with rape, which is the right. And so he knew there was that investigation clearly went on for a while. That newspaper really covered their asses and did a good job. And really got the evidence.
They have so much like text messages, like it's an insane level.
The taxi driver, like the level of just stuff they have in there. And so he knew he was fucked this time, as opposed to when Vice tried to get him, and he knew it. And so he started going right to have an audience when it all came crashing down. And sure enough, here they are, just backing him up.
I mean, like, that's the thing where, like, the first round of people who come out and support you are like Andrew Tate and Elon Musk and those sort of guys. And you're just like, shh. Like, if I had done something and the first people who supported me were Andrew Tate and Elon Musk, I'd be like, actually, maybe I am guilty. I should look in the mirror. I've actually fucked this up.
I expect to see Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis release an apology video.
It's a statement in support.
She was in forgetting Sarah Marshall. Right? Off of her Wasn't she forgetting Sarah Marshall with Russell Brand? That was his big sort of breakthrough role.
Here's an interesting thing. Judd Apatow, huge online, just such a savage towards Bill Cosby, like almost his thing. Weirdly, just very quiet about Russell Brand, a guy who was in 2 of his movies, all of a sudden not saying anything.
He doesn't have an apology room. Like it feels like in Hollywood now, everyone has to have an apology room. You've got to have just that muted wall, no fancy paintings or anything that looks too rich. Just a nice, humble apology wall. You've got to do your video in front of.
I'd like to see that on Selling Sunset.
Yeah.
You know, they're showing people around. You should see the apology room in this joint.
Yeah.
It is amazing. The rest of the place is palatial, but your apology room's going to look very humble, very sincere.
It's kind of the opposite of the Gal Gadot video. Like that was the opposite of the humble apology room. That is, look how rich and indulgent we are as celebrities.
You actually don't even need an apology room. You can just call up your help and be like, hey, maid, I need your place for today.
Can you apologize for me?
Yeah, we're doing a little house swap for the day. I've got some apologies to reel off. I'm just going to do a few generic ones and we can just add in the names in post.
You know, I had a film where Danny Masterson was attached and we were shopping around. And this is one of the first times in my career something happened in the world. And I was like, oh, thank God I didn't have a movie made with that guy. Like, thank God I have no association with him whatsoever. Because that would just be a bummer.
Tom Cruise's handlers or whoever is advising him not from the Church of Scientology is doing a real good job of keeping him distant from the church. Because when was the last time you saw Tom Cruise associated with Scientology in the public eye? Has not for like 10 years, it feels like. He's done no public appearances, no David Miscavige. Like, remember that was that thing where he was getting some Medal of Freedom or something like that, and they were playing the Mission Impossible theme, and he was talking about how only a Scientologist can save lives and stuff. And since then, it's like whoever his manager, his agent, has been really good at saying, hey, Tom, let's just get you jumping out of planes with no parachute. It's much safer than you aligning yourself with Scientology.
They made references to him and Scientology disappear in the same way as David Miscavige made his wife disappear. I think they realize, because he's still he's still one of the top people in the Church of Scientology, I believe. But I think that they realized that the best way, it's got to be like Fight Club Scientology. The best way to advertise Scientology is to be successful, but not actually talk about Scientology, because the more you talk about it, the more bonkers and bananas it sounds. But as long as you just are able to be successful and people just down low know that you're in the Church of Scientology, that does all the work that you need for the branding of the success of the church. The minute you start talking about all the bananas things that the church actually believes, it diminishes that power that it has, I think.
Do you think that happened in the first 100 years of like Christianity? Do you think like people like, hey, just cool it with he rose again after 3 days? Like he's sort of weirding people out. He didn't turn water to wine.
There's some really cool stuff he's saying about loving one another
is just creeping people out.
The walking on water stuff is like, we're losing people. We're losing people with the walk on water.
Why did you turn on the gay dudes? That's no good. We want as many people as possible. Why are you picking on them?
Oh, man. Hey, Dave Anthony, thank you for joining us on this episode of TOFOP with Friends.
TOFOP with Friends.
Sorry. The branding of this is all over the place. I'm sorry.
You guys do like 9 podcasts.
Well, we had Gareth, or Wil had Gareth on last week, and I listened to it, and the first 20 minutes was Wil explaining the rebrand, and it made my ears bleed. I was like, what have we done with this podcast? It is so fucking good. And I understand what Wil's talking about, but I felt so sorry for Gareth trying to follow the thread of, oh no, it was TOFOP and then it was FOFOP and now it's this. It's like, what is going on?
We've got to take the lead of the Church of Scientology and stop explaining it because it sounds bananas.
You already did you like a Kentucky Fried Chicken thing where you just become KFC. Like you don't.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's all TOFOP now. Everything's TOFOP.
Everything's TOFOP. You're going to do different. It's
Apart from the footy
on.
podcast.
Did you have it? You didn't have it all on the same feed before, right? Are you putting it all on the same feed?
Putting it all on the same feed, yes.
Yeah, that's what everyone's doing. That's what we did with our thing, and that's just what everyone's doing now. It's just easier. Some people don't like it, but there's a business-wise, it makes sense. But interesting. So, so now Wilosophy and everything is going to be there. No, Wilosophy didn't make the cut.
Not Wilosophy and not Two Guys One Cup. So
what? Okay, so you guys are kind of out of your fucking mind.
We're trying though. We're trying our best. We're consolidating. Because we've added more since. Because there was there's been a whole bunch of other projects. They might all eventually end up in the same feed, although Willosophy will be the hardest one to convince because it does better than the other ones. So
It's a different audience.
So you don't want to dirty it.
No, not at all.
I mean,
It's like taking a Range Rover
There
paddock
is-
through a paddock. You don't want to do that.
it's a strong brand in its own right, and it might find it hard to fit into this misfit family team.
Yeah, I get it.
But one of our podcasts, Two Guys, One Cup, our AFL adjacent podcast, of course, you are one of the, and genuinely I mean this because the Greater Western Sydney Giants don't have a huge amount of celebrity supporters. You are actually probably one of the top, say, 12, I would say.
Yeah.
Greater Western Sydney Giants supporters.
Mel Doyle,
and,
Alex Williams, Dave Anthony. I think they're the top three.
They're the
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
We Zoom during games.
How are you feeling about the fact that your Giants have made a great run in the finals this year?
I mean, it was such a good end of the season where they brought it together.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Was it which team got screwed? Was it your team that got screwed, Will?
No, it's Melbourne.
No.
You
Oh,
guys
no,
made
so
the
you,
playoffs.
yes.
Adelaide,
That's
yeah. I mean, technically we did, but we deserved to be.
Yeah,
it
but
was
that one
Adelaide
call, that one
also
call, which team got that call of that
Adelaide.
ridiculous?
Oh, yeah.
That was insane. And that shifted all those teams, 7, 8, 9. It was like ridiculous. But anyway, but it was just fun to watch them build up and start to put it together. And I don't know the sport that well. You guys have obviously growing up with it, the nuances of stuff, but I'm trying to figure it out. But watching them get better and better and better, and really put it together, it's one of those things where you watch it and you're going, oh, these are the kind of teams that win everything.
Yeah.
They're going to have a run.
So, Dave, can I ask, because when you and Greg first came out to us, whatever, it was the first time you came to Australia, but when you were out doing the comedy festival and we just sort of met, and I took you and Greg to see the Saints play at Marvel. Was it the Giants that they were playing? Was that the opponent? I think it was. And so I had the...
Was it really?
I think it was, because you brought Finn along and he kept calling them the Orange team or talking about the Orange men. And I remember...
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I think it was. So I actually had the opposite effect what I wanted. I was trying to recruit you into the Saints, and what I actually did was expose you to the opponent. And that's where you... Can you remember why you picked the Giants?
I know exactly why I picked the Giants, because I was a San Francisco Giants fan forever, and they're in the same colors. And I was like, well, that's just destiny. Yeah. That's destiny. Also, you explained to me what St. Kilda was. Yeah. And having lived as a fan of following torturous, awful teams, I was like, that sounds terrible. Yeah. And I did after the game, I bought a St. Kilda hat, and I'm like, I'm going to give it a shot. And I watched a few games, and I was
was at our
no one should do this.
Yeah, we were at our worst point. That was 2014 when we finished bottom of the ladder as well. So it's the worst time to try and get into the Saints. I mean, there's no real, in 150 years, there's probably been 3 good times to get into the Saints.
This is why these are the kind of things you said to me that made me go, well, I wasn't going to lie to you.
Whereas the Greater Western Sydney Giants have been pretty much nothing but successful since they've come into the competition in their short history. So you've really backed a winner there. Here's what I Googled. I was trying to find celebrity Giants supporters, and there are so few entries that I honestly believe that you would be in the top 5. I think worldwide with the audience that Dollop has, I think you honestly would be top 5 celebrity supporters of the Greatest Western Sydney Giants.
Al Williams could hook you up with whoever their media department is. If you want to become an ambassador, we could definitely...
I reckon you could be an ambassador to the Giants.
We could definitely make that happen. And all you'd have to do is post a photo of you in front of the Hollywood sign holding up a giant scarf or some shit like that.
Oh, I would,
and then you get
100%.
Free tickets. Because Al, when I go to the Giants games with Al Williams, he gets treated like a king. We get taken up into nice bars and stuff, and the best seats and all that kind of stuff. And it's a good ground to go watch football.
Because it's perfect, man. Because they're lowly supported. They're a new team in a market that isn't a traditional AFL market. So the idea that they have an international celebrity supporter, they'd be rapt. Yeah. You come out to Australia, you get treated by a king. You're a giant amongst giants. But while I was Googling, I have found an article about when celebrities have associations with AFL football teams, right? So international celebrities have an association with AFL football teams. So famously this week, Robbie Williams, the singer Robbie Williams, he's a Carlton fan and has been posting songs about the Carlton Football Club. But there's some other Hollywood celebrities here who've been roped into being AFL fans. And I just thought it might be fun to run through which like celebrities have associations with which clubs. Now, Charlie, what's the best way to do this? Is it better to say the club and then you to guess the celebrity, or to say the celebrity and guess the club?
Let's go with celebrity and then guess the club,
Okay.
and I can talk Dave through it. My thinking.
Okay, Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Well, I would say
Natalie.
she spent most of her time in Australia and New South Wales filming like Thor movies and things like that. So the Swans would be an obvious choice. But then GWS.
It would be, but it's not.
What? It's not the Swans?
It's not. No, because this is from when she was in Australia in 2018. So this is pre-pandemic.
Okay.
And she talked about it, her love of this club. And there's a photo of her wearing the jumper of this club. She talked about it on the Ellen show.
An AFL team.
So it made it that far, an AFL team, but not from Sydney.
Wow. And she loves them, which makes
Wow,
me love them.
I mean,
I
you
love
know.
anything Natalie Portman loves. So I am switching teams. Give me a state. What state's it in? Or is that going to give it away?
Well, here's what I like. This will probably give it away for you, Charlie. I also love Natalie Portman, as you well know. But this would severely affect my love for Natalie Portman.
Really? Okay, so I know who it is. It's a team that's been recently eliminated from the finals race.
It's true.
It's a major city in Australia, Dave.
In Australia.
Adelaide?
No.
No, not the Adelaide Crows.
Melbourne Demons.
The Melbourne Demons.
Natalie Portman loves the Demons.
Interesting.
I could sort of see that. She's going.
She does look good in the jumper, I will say.
Well, she looks good in really most anything. Like,
It's true, yes.
All right.
so here's the thing, though, that confuses me about the sport a little bit. It's almost like there's no home stadium, right?
MCG. Well, the MCG is
What do you
the home of
mean?
football.
Like, do they? Because it just seems like a bunch of teams use MCG, right?
Well, yeah. So every team used to have their own home ground, but because the weird thing about the AFL, there's so many weird things, but one of the weirdest things is because it grew out of the VFL, every other state in Australia has two teams, apart from Tasmania, who hopefully are going to have a team at some stage. But all the other states, South Australia has two teams, Western Australia has two teams, Queensland has two teams, New South Wales has two teams. And then in Victoria, there's how many? 10 teams. 8 teams.
10 teams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because it came out of the suburban competition. So they all used to have their own little suburban grounds. But what's happened is because of the size of the game, they became amalgamated. So
Co-tenants.
But essentially, Charlie and my teams both have our like training grounds, but the home ground we play at is a place called Marvel Stadium, which is a Melbourne
Which is a ground you've
stadium
been to, Dave. That's where you went and saw your first game.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And then there's the MCG. So most of the Melbourne teams have either the MCG or Marvel Stadium as their home ground
Got
now.
it. Okay. And then I texted Charlie this because I was watching a game and I was like, what it's like they're at a outside and like no one's
some
there.
country.
I'm like, what the
outback
fuck is
town.
happening right now? And I text Charlie and he's like,
Was it
they're
Geelong?
in Darwin. They're in
Oh,
Darwin.
yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? So they just go on the road and play a game up there.
Community, yeah. It's out.
Well, because
it's
the
an
Northern
outreach
Territory has no home team, yeah, they play a couple of games a year up in the Northern Territory, either Alice Springs or Darwin. And they also the Giants play some games in Canberra. So that all the states, and then Hawthorn and North Melbourne have been playing games in Tasmania, but Tasmania have been approved for their own team in the competition.
thing. It does look, I mean, if you to the naked eye, it looks very amateurish because all of a sudden, like you've just got cars parked up against the fence and people leaning over drinking beers. And I think in the
there's just
Darwin
people
game,
hanging
that
out
was
in
the
a
most
truck.
carnival-esque atmosphere. People jumping the fence to signal a goal with a goal on fire and stuff. And it's like, we're a bit.
It was
It's a bit
bizarre.
loosey-goosey when we play up there. It's fine. I like it.
Yeah. If you did that at the MCG, you get tackled to the ground and fined $6,000. But in Darwin, they're just like, nice one, fella. Back over the fence.
That's the mayor.
All right. Natalie Portman is a Melbourne fan, apparently.
Boo.
Now, Zac Efron and Adam Devine. Zac Efron and Adam
Who's
Devine.
Adam Devine?
Were obviously, you
Singer.
know him.
Oh,
He's like,
he's a singer, right?
he was in like
Maroon
Pitch
5.
Perfect. He's a comedian. No,
Oh.
no.
Who's that?
Maybe Adam Levine. Sorry, I'm thinking about Adam
that's something
Levine.
else.
Sorry, Zac Efron and Adam Levine.
So Maroon
You know him.
5.
He was in.
totally-
Adam Levine.
Adam
Is that who Adam
Devine
Levine
Yeah,
is?
he might be the. Yeah, no. Adam Levine's the
Yeah.
comedian. Sorry, Adam.
Oh, this is
Hang on.
Adam Levine is the singer of Maroon
Okay.
5.
You know what the problem is? The headline says Zac Efron and Adam Devine, and then in the article it says Zac Efron and Adam Levine.
God.
So I thought I'd fuck that up, but actually, this article has fucked it up. So
That's how little the person writing it gave a shit.
it's the comedian
about
one,
this.
the one from Pitch Perfect and other.
Okay. Oh, yeah, he's
TV
like
shows.
a Jack Blackish
Okay.
type comedian, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. Yes, correct.
Zac
Zac Efron. What does Zac Efron strike you as when it comes to?
Geez, because I always assume, because what happens, Dave, is a big celebrity comes out, and normally when Eddie Maguire used to be president of Collingwood, he would just scoop up if it was John Travolta or whoever it was, and he'd be like, hey, here's a Collingwood scarf because they're a big team. So I would assume that most of them would go to Collingwood, but it's not Collingwood. It is Collingwood.
It's not you. Okay, I'll give you the. This is from Zac Efron's Instagram,
Yep.
which has had 816,516 likes. Few mates from the insert team here came out to play today. Adam scored 6 points. I scored 18. I'm pretty sure. After we made a tough pose. So it is the two of them, probably on some tour, like to promote
A movie
something.
of some kind.
It's a major city.
Okay.
They are posing with two players from the major city team. Your initial
I'm gonna say
instincts around Natalie Portman
Sydney.
were Sydney Swans.
Swans. And I think
Yes.
Sydney Sweeney and Dermot Mulroney are two additions to the Sydney Swans. I saw that they did a bunch of stuff for the Swans this year. They were out filming something like that.
Well, also a very I'm going to say I'll give you this is another one from Sydney. Very funny, internationally successful comedian.
It's the Giants. It's me. You're talking about me.
No, this is Sydney Swans. This is the Sydney Swans version of you. But I would suggest this guy does have a podcast.
Russell Brand.
I would suggest his podcast is probably even more successful than yours.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan direction the Swans.
It is
He
not Joe
support
Rogan.
Liam Jones' decision to sit out when the vaccinations were mandatory in the AFL.
But yes, someone with a very successful podcast. He's a comedian.
Mark Maron.
Bill Burr.
Not Mark Maron.
Bill Burr?
Not Bill Burr. If I talk about his other sort of thing he's most famous for, it'll give it away immediately.
Ricky Gervais.
Is he actually a stand-up comedian?
No, not a stand-up comedian.
Oh.
Max
He's a talk show host.
Conan O'Brien.
talk show host.
Conan O'Brien.
That's right. He
really?
filmed a whole segment. I remember that. It was on his show where he trained with the Swans and went to a game and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty good stuff. The Swans.
So all the big celebrities just go to hang out in Sydney and then they get sucked up by the team.
Yeah.
That's what
I'd
happens.
say.
Well, okay. So you mentioned Collingwood before,
Yeah,
Charlie.
yeah.
Collingwood's got a few.
Heaps. Rob Lowe.
so I'll give
off
you
the top of my head, Rob Lowe,
Okay,
John
good.
Travolta.
Rob Lowe, definitely.
Rob
Good,
Lowe.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Dave, in both these instances, the game would finish, and they follow the players from the ground into the change rooms, and you see all the players get together and sing the song. In both instances, Rob Lowe and John Travolta were somehow in the circle with the players singing the song. It was the most bizarre, like with no warning. You're just watching a normal footy game. You see the players leave the ground, form a circle in the change rooms, and it's like, is that the guy from Face Off in there singing the song? Who didn't know the words, mind you. John Travolta
Of course he did.
did not know the words. Okay. So they're my two.
So Rob Lowe is, yeah. So there's two more that are just absolutely brilliant. So the first one is a worldwide spiritual leader.
Oh, the Dalai Lama.
The Dalai
Lama.
You're fucking
Oh my God. The West Coast.
So this is Collingwood. These
is
are
a Perth
Collingwood's
guy.
ones as well.
It's
So the Collingwood's got Rob Lowe, John Travolta, the Dalai Lama, and
I'm glad we smashed those fuckers today.
and someone else who, and I need to point out, this is the character this person plays, not the actual actor themselves. And so this person showed up to the Collingwood Football Club, stayed in character for the entire time.
Borat.
You're in the kind of right zone, but not Borat. But yes, but like that sort of character actor sort of thing is, definitely
Strawny?
the vibe.
Not Peter Hellier Strawny.
Not Peter Hellier Strawny, no. Probably didn't say as much as Peter Hellier
World
Strawny,
famous?
I would have thought. World famous.
Oh, Mr.
World
Bean.
famous.
It has to be Mr.
Mr.
Bean.
Mr. Bean.
Oh my God. Oh, imagine being the poor player who's roped into that like publicity call where you got Rowan Atkinson doing his little mime act around you and poking you in the face and all this kind of shit.
Mate, the photo they've got is him on the rowing machine with a very Mr. Bean pulling a Mr. Bean face while the other players just look on in bemusement.
He went in after the game to sing the song and just fell down.
His pants fell down.
Now, Charlie's team, Dave, have got a couple of big celebrities.
Surprising.
In the same way as, like, I think Charlie was mentioning earlier, that they just pop in and then someone throws a shirt on them.
Yeah.
But
a couple of WWE superstars. Are they there?
Mm-hmm.
Hulk Hogan and Booker T.
No, not them.
Oh, okay. Well, Hulk Hogan and Booker T have both come to Moorabbin. Booker T reminded us that he was the five-time world champion.
Sure he did.
And Hulk's asked, what you going to do when the Saints and Hulkamania run wild on you? So what other big stars?
Well, this is so
Ed
one
Sheeran,
of them is
Ed Sheeran, because he's mates with Gudinski.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because
Ed Sheeran.
he was good mates with
Wow.
Michael Gudinski.
Michael Gudinski. So yes, Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
This one is a female. I'm going to start with the
Elle McPherson.
Elle McPherson.
Yeah, I remember
Correct.
that. I had
Well
that
done.
poster on my wall. Her in the Saints Guernsey, kissed by in the photo. It was her holding in the Saints Guernsey holding football. On one side is
Yes.
Damien Kitschke giving her a kiss. On the other side,
Yes.
David Grant, Tasmanian
I'm
halfback
looking at that
flanker.
photo right
really?
now. Exactly. Yeah,
That was a
exact
pullout
photo
in
that you recall.
before it became the Herald Sun. In the Sunday Herald, that was the pullout poster you got on a Sunday. And I remember I stuck that to my wall, thinking one day
Okay.
I'll be getting kissed by David Grant. I mean, I'll be kissing Elle McPherson.
All right. So now, who is the other one? I'll give you a clue. A massive, massive Hollywood celebrity.
Not like not the obvious, not Eric Bana. Is it?
No.
Okay.
But I would say a bigger
American.
Hollywood celebrity than
American. Sorry.
and bigger than Eric Bana, I would say.
And he likes the Saints.
Wow.
Well, the photo here is him taking a hanger over Rob Harvey in a marking contest.
Sign him up. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
So if you say Rob Harvey, it's got to be late 90s, early 2000s, right?
This photo is from 1998.
Okay, and is this person still famous, or was he at his peak in 98?
He was famous then and he is still famous today.
Jesus Christ.
Well, it's clearly De Niro.
Who is still famous then and now? And it wouldn't be someone like Harrison Ford or Bruce Willis because they're famously
Stallone?
grumpy.
No.
Stallone's still famous.
Is he?
Stallone is
is he
still famous.
What genre does he work in? Comedy, action?
He's certainly been in some comedies, but he's been in a lot of action sort of films, superhero films.
Okay, superhero films. Who would have? Wouldn't have been Christopher Reeve in '98. That would have been physically impossible.
That's the 80s. I'm glad you talked yourself out of the guy in the wheelchair.
That's how he did it. Taking a hanger over Robert Harvey.
It's impressive.
That's how he broke his back. They had to blame it on a horse. It would have been too much.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? The most disastrous publicity tour ever. Our leading man is now a quadriplegic because he took a hanger over some local football star.
Anyway, get him in the jumper, get the photo, and then get him on a horse.
Okay. All right. So I'm struggling to think of someone who is still famous 20. Like, it's hard to be famous for 20 years. Okay.
I mean,
Steven Seagal.
This guy would have had something to say about. There was a quirky thing in the AFLW on the weekend. Did you see what the quirky story in the AFLW this weekend, Charlie, was? There was a particular invader on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so red belly, black snake. It was red belly, black snake sleeping on a red rock waiting. No, so it's not Peter Garrett from Midnight Oil.
No, but there was a snake on the field at
it's Samuel L. Jackson.
He would have said, "Get this motherfucking snake off this motherfucking field." It is St Kilda's biggest fan, Samuel L. Jackson.
So what the fuck was he promoting in '98? Like, that's coming off Pulp Fiction. No, Pulp Fiction would have been '95.
It's such a natural pairing.
What? Samuel L. Jackson and St Kilda.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Almost the same initials, STK. SLJ.
Is that around?
Not really.
There's one similar initial.
All right. I'll skip. There's some good ones here. Political leaders. This will be good for Dave. Both Joe Biden and Barack Obama have been presented jumpers of particular teams when they have visited Australia. So, Joe Biden, what do you think, Joe Biden? What team has Joe Biden ended up with, do you think?
Is there an Irish a team that has a lot of Irish fans?
No,
really.
I don't think so.
Maybe because
it's
a working class team traditionally, right? Well, the one I'm thinking of.
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, the opposite.
No. Yeah, the opposite. Yes, the opposite of a working class team, I would say.
Are they one of the big four Victorian clubs?
They are one of the big four Victorian clubs.
Okay, so the big four Victorian clubs, Dave, are Essendon, Richmond, Collingwood and Carlton. Which one of those seems most Joe Biden-esque? What do you know about those four teams?
I know Collingwood.
They're like the Manchester United of the AFL. Big club, but everyone fucking hates them.
But a lot of racism issues, yeah.
They've been working through that. They do better.
Yeah.
Carlton, who are like arrogant, super arrogant, like the Yankees. They're like just and they're the blue bloods, like in name and in reputation. Then how would you describe Essendon, Will? What's their kind of deal? It's just a dysfunctional, rich bastards. Successful, but have not been successful in 20 years, but very wealthy.
I'm willing to say that it is one of the first two. It is Collingwood or Carlton.
It's Carlton.
It is Carlton. The Navy Blues. Interesting. Here's one that's interesting. Barack Obama is here with holding a jumper that says Obama on the back of it, holding it up in front of him, by a team that has not been mentioned so far.
Victorian team.
No, not a non-Victorian team.
A non-Victorian team.
Are they on the West Coast?
They are on the West Coast.
What?
the West Coast Eagles. That's exactly who they
Barack
are.
Obama has an Eagles jumper.
Yeah, I think, Julie Bishop was our foreign minister, and she's, I think, was the number one ticket holder at the West Coast Eagles for a while. So she presented him with a jumper that says...
so it wasn't like Barack went to Perth.
I just need to...
I can't imagine that.
He may have, but I just need to correct what Will said. He said Barack Obama has a West Coast Eagles hat.
You don't think he wears it? Down to the beach or to the gym or anything?
That's the one thing he held on to. He said, when I'm leaving office... Get that West Coast Eagles jumper down.
That's right. Trump's been
He's had
hiding boxes and files, and Barack, he decided to steal the West Coast jumper he was presented by Julie Bishop. That was his bit of...
Mate, he can't stop tweeting about whether they should give up their number one pick for Harley Reid. Like, that's... all right, one more, and then we're done. So I will give you the club. The club is the Gold Coast Suns. And what I will say is this celebrity feels like an absolutely perfect a match for the Gold Coast Suns. He's an American, all-round entertainer, and just feels like the perfect, like this is the one that I just go, yep, of course. That's exactly who this particular, and instead of just holding up the jumper, this person is doing their job in the jumper. So like as in they haven't just been roped down to the ground to like for a publicity shoot. This person, the photo that I'm looking at is a photo of them at their job while wearing the jersey of the Gold Coast Suns.
Is this an old picture?
It is from 20th of January 2014, this particular
That's pretty
photo. But this celebrity is still a celebrity now, has been a celebrity for like 30 years.
And do you remember Dolph Lundgren was photographed at a Suns game when he was out here filming something? Remember we saw Dolph Lundgren. It's not him.
No.
I wouldn't think of Dolph Lundgren as all-round entertainer.
Hey, we know that he can sing, that he's intellectual.
Yeah.
Like, he is an all-round performer. So in the same way this guy is an all-round performer, he's particularly good at one thing, but he has done a whole bunch of other things. And think of the Gold Coast in general, the vibe of the Gold Coast. Maybe talk
Vegas-y. We talking like that?
No.
Yeah.
Think modern Gold
not
Coast.
Vegas-y?
All right.
Not cabaret. Not
okay, so-
what's the modern Gold Coast?
But like Florida-ish.
Yeah.
No, like a bit
no.
more. Think of like modern Gold Coast. Like we're talking.
You keep saying that, but that means nothing to Dave.
No, but to
I
you,
know, I
it
was
should.
there.
You live in
I was
this country.
Oh, I
Charlie.
didn't. Okay, sorry, I was trying to help Dave. Modern Gold Coast.
I was there like 5 years ago. It was disappointing.
Okay, all right. So modern Gold Coast. I mean, so it's kind of trashy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think of that, a bit more that kind of vibe is where you.
Okay, so is it
someone who?
and you said entertainer, so it's not like an influencer. It's not that trashy. It's still traditional entertainment.
No, this is a huge star.
Okay.
One of the biggest stars.
Song and dance type huge star.
Certainly, dance would be probably a little bit too much, but definitely
Song.
musician.
Okay.
Most famous for being a musician.
Elton John.
But also also has acted, hosted, all sorts of things.
That's not.
But very Gold Coast, like very modern Gold Coast.
Okay, so when you say very modern Gold Coast, I'm thinking like has had some surgery done, maybe looks a bit weird in the face.
No. I'm thinking more the vibe of the modern Gold Coast. Okay. This person would be
Rod Stewart.
An icon. No, you can't. Again, I don't know what your idea of the Gold Coast is.
I'm really
This is like, you really are. You only live like an hour's drive. Have you not checked it out?
I've never had to use an entertainer simile for the Gold Coast, so that's where I'm struggling.
What's a job that you could wear a oversized football jumper at? Like, what's the sort of entertainer that might wear a oversized football jumper at their job?
An oversized
on stage. It's pretty obvious. Like, what's the sort of entertainer that would wear an oversized? What's this? I mean, like you've literally. I said to you, like that he's a song like most known as a musician, and has worn this giant jersey on stage.
It's Snoop Dogg.
It's Snoop Dogg. Of course it is, Dave. For shizzle, it is, my nizzle.
Yeah.
Because
how did you get that it's Snoop Dogg from what Will was saying? That was
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, when he started saying oversized, I was
you're
like,
thinking
okay,
like sports jerseys. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking sports jerseys. And then then when he said, he does everything, I was like, oh, it's Snoop.
Yeah,
it
right.
is. It is indeed the Snoop D-O-double-G. Hey, Charlie, have you voted in the TOFOP board yet?
You mean the competition we're running to celebrate our artist and friend James Fosdike?
Yeah, of course that's what I mean. What else would I mean?
The competition where we're asking listeners to vote for their favourite TOFOP art illustrations created by Foz?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm
The
talking
one
about.
that only takes a minute on our website, TOFOP.com, and every entrant goes in the draw to win one of 10 signed TOFOP artworks.
Yes, I can't tell you any more times. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Have you voted yet?
No.
Well, what are you waiting for? Vote in the TOFOP board now.
Wait a minute. You want me to vote now because voting is only open until 4 p.m. on October 4?
Yeah, that's it. Stop it.
Now, Dave, this next couple of weeks, we are celebrating the work of one James Fosdike. So we thought it'd be good to get you on because you are another podcaster whose artwork is intertwined with James Fosdike. How did you come across
just did one
Foz?
So Wil, the first show Wil did where you used Fosdike for your poster and your ads, I was there, and we were doing a tour, and I just asked Wil, I was like, "Can we use this guy?" And you introduced me to him, but I was just like, the art's like fantastic, like. And I asked Wil about him, and he just sent me to his webpage or whatever. And I just was looking at it. I was like, well, this guy's like phenomenal, like beyond, anything. So it was through Wil, basically. And then once we started using him, it was just, we just started doing a bunch of stuff with him.
Right. Have you ever had to push back on anything he's done for you? Like, has he ever drawn anything for you that you're like, whoa?
No, the only time I ever had to do anything where I was like, oh, we can't have testicles in this. like that's the only.
I mean, that's normally what it comes down to for all of the stuff. Is like, there's too many dicks, or we can't have testicles in this, or like, I mean, other than that, he pretty much has an unblemished record. Other than, this penis is a bit too obvious. Yeah. The penis is a bit too big. It should probably be spurting things out of it. Like, that is normally where the line has to be drawn.
We've had two. There's only, and we are loath to censor James Fosdike. We get like, he gets to name the episode, he gets to come up with whatever he wants. We just hand the audio to him, and then the rest is his. But there was one where we talked about, I don't know, do you ever remember there's a novelty T-shirt called the Happy Fisherman? Did you ever see that? Like, you'd see it down on like a boardwalk or something where
sounds familiar.
It's a guy fishing, and beneath the water you can see there's a fish sucking on his dick. And that was just like, it was just a novelty T-shirt. So we talked about that on the episode. And then the artwork, Foz came up with a perfect recreation of said T-shirt. And he denies it, but the fisherman did bear a resemblance to me. Like, he says it wasn't. He was just going off the original reference, but it had dark hair, bit of stubble. It looked like me. And I mean, this is even really before we were with Listener or anything, but I was like, I just don't know we can put out artwork that has someone getting a blowjob from a fish. So that was...
Yeah, it's a bit.
Yeah, so I just asked him. So he put a black bar over it, which I appreciated. And then years went by, and I thought we were past it. And then very recently, I think Wil misspoke and said, instead of saying death on a stick, the famous line from Point Break, said death on a dick. And that just caught Foz's imagination. And so he sketched up a picture of the Grim Reaper sitting on an enormous horse-like penis that is the most detailed penis he's ever drawn. It was purple at the head. It was pink down the shaft, veins, you name it. And like, we have a group chat, and I was like, Foz, come on, man. Like, you're killing me. We can't put this incredibly detailed penis out into the public. Like, what are we going to do? Like, I don't want to limit your creativity, but what are we going to do? So I think after 3 or 4 back and forths, we managed to shade the penis. So it still is a penis, but it's a penis in silhouette now. But that's pretty good though. In like however many episodes he's been doing artwork for us across all the pods, we've only had to push back twice. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's about right. I don't think I just say do something, and he'll go, what about this? And I'll go, yeah, that sounds good. And then sometimes he'll send me something completely different. And I'll be like, yep, nope, it's good, it's great, love it. It's all like, I've never not liked anything. Everything he's done, I'm fantastic. Like, it's amazing.
Oh, I love everything
except everything. We did the book. So we did the book and we were like, he has to do the art. And the book company was like, it's like, he's a lot. And like, we usually don't pay this much. And we're like, just trust us on this. And then they got like a couple and they were like, holy, like the book company was like blown away. And they didn't push back on anything except they were like, we actually can't have testicles. Like a couple times they had to say like, this is a book. Like that's a car. It shouldn't have testicles on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but like, they were just like, who is this person? Like they couldn't believe the art they were getting.
Well, I mean, I love when he gets injured. Like, I mean, because he's a very professional person who deals with those sort of things all the time. And like, he did the cover for, I mean, obviously he does all my tour, stuff for me, but he also did the cover of my book. And I love when I hear just the stories back about the negotiations around, what it is. Like, once it goes out of our world, where we're pretty much like, because like when James is like coming up with a new like tour design for me, like it's a collaborative process insofar as I send him what I think the title of the show will be. And then essentially he'll just send me some things and I normally just say yes. Occasionally I might have the smallest of notes, but like honestly, I would say 98% of the creativity behind it is entirely in his hands. I have such great trust that he knows what I'm going for, and honestly, there's been times where his artwork has end up representing the show I wrote that I hadn't written at the time that he did the where people go, oh man, that art was so like what the show was about. And I'm like, yeah, how did he do that? Because I had not written the show when he came up with that art.
Sorcerer. He's a sorcerer.
He's a witch.
What's so entwined with our show now? Like, I mean, behind me, that's all Foz artwork. We're sort of between a rock and a hard place because nothing can happen to Foz now because like it is TOFOP, and so we have to sort of protect him at all costs. Like that's where
we must protect James Fosdike at all costs.
Yeah, we have
one of those internet memes. We're technically for Foz in between a cock and a hard place. I think he would prefer.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like I've sat with him in his studio when he's been creating art, and one of his like sometimes he'll have the testicles and the dicks like front and center so you can see them. But just to amuse himself, he works dicks into artwork, not just for you, for the Dollop and TOFOP, but other clients as well. Like he just works them in and he'll do things like, he'll draw a dick and then shade over it so it's completely imperceptible. But it's just for his own benefit, his own enjoyment that he knows there's a dick behind that cloud or behind that tree that he's just drawn.
It centers him.
It does. I mean, he should relate like Russell Brand and his wellness. I want like the Tao of Foz. Like, what is how does weed and dicks center you each day?
He is essentially the ultimate fantasy of every 12, 11-year-old boy because we all just drew dicks. And then he turned it into a life and a career. He really should be what every 12-year-old boy is looking up to. Like he lived the dream. He became the dick drawer, the ultimate.
That's the name of the autobiography.
Dick drawer.
The dick drawer.
He just did our 600. Elon Musk is our 600, coming out later in a few hours. And it was the same thing where I was like, he's like, what do you want? And I was like, I don't know. What about a Tesla's on fire and me and Gareth and Kilgareth are in it? And he goes, oh yeah, that's interesting. And then he just sent me something completely different that was much better.
That is the other thing too. Like I'm not a very visual person. And so when in the few times I've had ideas or suggestions, like it's that he treats me with that same kind of tone that a nurse in a nursing home, treats the old man who's like babbling about, the German stole all his gold or whatever like that. Okay, Mr. Clausen, that's fine. Yeah. We'll put you and Will's face on Mount Rushmore. We'll work on that. No problem.
I can't remember. I mean, he would probably remember this better than I would, right? But I can't actually remember ever giving him a suggestion.
Really? Ever?
Considering the amount of art that he has done for, because I mean, he does all my art, like for all my projects, like not just for TOFOP, like all the stuff he's done for TOFOP, but obviously the tours and the book and all that stuff is James. And I can't actually remember ever adding anything creative to that process.
It almost never happens. Like I almost never have an idea. I just go, just something like, and he'll be like, it's you and Gareth and you're in a bear. I'm like, okay.
Well, the good news is, Dave, you can vote for your favorite TOFOP art of all time. You can do it right now. You can go to tofop.com and there is an online gallery where you can cast your vote. We're going to announce it in a couple of weeks' time. We're going to get Foz on the show. We're going to count down the top 10 bits of TOFOP art and then announce the number one as voted by the listeners before we unveil our brand new TOFOP tile, which once again, Will and I have had no input in. I've seen some emails going back and forth with our producer, Mike, and Foz about like, hey, what's this new artwork? And I have no idea. I've got no idea what it's going to look like. Is it going to be photorealistic? Is it going to be cartoonish? Is it even going to feature us at all?
Yeah, that's right. You don't know, but you'll be happy when you get it.
Or it might just be two dicks in top hats.
What if one day all of a sudden like that came back and you're like, what? Like if he lost his dick power, like it just was gone. Like one day he sends you a thing and you're like,
where's the dick?
Where's the
Hey man.
What if he
where's the dick?
Where's the dick? You all right?
You all right, man? Are you okay? Where's the dick? I can't see the dick, man. There's no dick in this.
We have to have an intervention. We call James around and we're all just me, Gareth's
We've all been
in the room.
Yeah.
just make him sit down and draw
The
a
guys
dick.
from Auntie Donna. We're like, come on, man.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to do it anymore. I think I've moved beyond that. No, come on.
No, come on, man.
You're the dick drawer.
It's who you
the
are.
title of your autobiography.
We're all at his funeral, like, and we're all carrying him in a giant dick, like, on our shoulders. Dick-shaped coffin.
The coffin just extends. The further we walk, it just gets longer. I mean, can you do that? Can you pick the shape of your coffin? Like people do customized coffins. If you wanted a cock-shaped coffin, would they allow that? Maybe not if you're getting buried in like a...
Well, in a church, they
Catholic.
probably wouldn't. But like,
But if you're in a non-denominational, you can get
Buried
buried all
whatever you
kinds
want.
of dicks.
yeah.
Balls, an ass. You can get
It's getting complicated if you suddenly have to get like paper mache involved to put together. But I reckon, well, you know what you could do? Like, because, obviously they put so you could go like a dick shaped coffin, right? That you put like the person in.
Is it pink?
Then maybe it can be pink.
Okay.
Veiny. Sure. You can have like some balls at the end that just get carried along, like just kind of cupped.
Well, there's two guys just for the balls.
Just for the balls. Just
Do you
holding the
imagine
balls.
that the head, like the way you lay the body in the coffin, is the head of the body in the head of the penis? That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then the feet go where the balls are.
Yeah.
So we're talking
exactly.
the classic penis shape, right?
Yeah. But then if you wanted the ass involved, what you could do is like for the cremation, you could have an ass-shaped like entrance to the fiery cremation, like to the so you can insert the
penis-shaped coffin
into the fiery asshole. It's what he wanted.
Yeah.
It is what he wanted. And by what he wanted, what we speculated that he wanted.
What a way to go. What a way to go. I mean, if he died drawing a dick, we could say he died doing what he loved.
Drawing what he loved.
Drawing what he
Dicks.
loves. And then he's getting buried in what he loves, which is, in case we haven't been clear so far,
a dick. A giant dick.
All right, Dave, we'll let you go. So you want to plug the 600 again?
Yes. Episode 600 of The Dollop.
Yeah, it comes out. It's out this week, and it's Elon Musk. It's going to be a two-parter with Karen Kilgariff.
Good guy?
Turns out
Spoilers.
not so much.
Turns out, good guy.
Turns out not great.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Where does it? Do you take
From
it right
beginning to end.
Do you take it right up to him destroying Twitter? Is it the full gamut of Musk, or are you focusing on a particular?
Yes, we go all the way through it. I had to peter out at the end. Like it was obviously there'd be a part 3 at some point, but like I couldn't go too much into Twitter because I think Twitter's still an ongoing sort of thing. But I just talked about how he bought it and destroyed it.
You're in the
Not
middle
very
of
brief.
that, right? Like we're still in the
Yeah.
middle of this phase of whatever, because his story's not done. Whatever
No.
happens next is like, I mean, every day there's a whatever happens next. And then he supported publicly Russell Brand. Like every day there's something. There's something
When
every day.
Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk come out in your defense, you've really got to start reevaluating.
Surprise, new kid. Okay. Well, look, I mean, we could do 5 parts of this. There's more to come.
I'm not sure if you know this, Dave, but Will is off social media. He doesn't like to talk about
Yeah,
it.
sorry, I'm off social media. I don't like to talk about it.
But have you noticed, like with Twitter, the ads that he's getting now, like clearly all the big advertisers have bailed on him. So now you're getting the increasingly
It's the
insane.
worst.
Like every ad to me that I get,
Like what sort of things?
Well, it seems to be like,
I'll give you a great example.
yeah,
In California, you can't have like what's called a billy club, like a cop club or anything
Extendable baton.
sort of like that. So one of the ads on there is like a cane in parentheses, right? It's a cane that you can turn into one, but you can tell the police in California that it's not a club, it's a cane because technically so it's
That's what they're selling on there now.
That's the kind of shit that they're selling.
Yeah, or it's a lot of, and it's also a lot of clothes. Like they seem to be targeted or come from like an Asian market. So they're it's these clothes, and the way they demonstrate them is always how indestructible they are. So it's like a guy wearing a pair of pants, and he'll tug at the pants to show you how flexy they are. And then the next scene will be them hanging like bowling balls off the pants. Someone will blow a flamethrower at the pants. A truck will roll over the pants, and it's just like, and then the guy will pick up the pants and put them back on and stretch them out to show how flexible they are. It's like I've seen so many articles of clothing like set on fire, thrown off buildings, run over by trucks, just to show me how tough my clothes could be.
Why? I mean, why do you need indestructible pants?
I don't know.
What is?
Well, because of climate change. That's actually like I might want those pants.
Got to get my billy club and my indestructible pants, and I'll be fine for climate change.
Once again, you can vote for James Fosdike's artwork. We're going to tofop.com. Check out our picks for our favourites, and you can pick your favourite from that. We'll count down in a couple of weeks and have Foz on the show to unveil.
Yeah. Well, that's the correct. I believe that's
take veal out. Yeah.
Unveil our brand new artwork. And also, if you do vote for your favorite Fosdike artwork, you can go in the running to win a prize, which is the new artwork autographed by Will and Foz and I. Don't know how we're going to do that. We live in 3 different places, but
somehow. Well, we're doing some live shows. First time in 6 years, Dave. Charlie and I are
really
doing some. In fact, I got a memory sent to me because like I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I'm not on social media anymore. And so occasionally the people who run my social media for me will be like, hey, do you remember this? And it had been the 6-year anniversary of our last show. So they were like, do you want me to post about that? And I was like, yeah, that's a great way to plug the fact that we are back on the road doing some new shows, only Sydney and Melbourne for now. First show in Melbourne is already sold out. Second one is selling very quickly. And then at the Sydney Comedy Store as well. Those shows are on sale, getting quick.
Link in the episode description below.
Yes.
I don't know why I say below. It's not like when you're listening to this, you look down and there it is. Like, just check the episode.
Below the episode on your podcast
ding
feed of
device.
choice. I don't know how it works.
How can we still be so bad at this after 13 years? It's just
it's like I am sometimes just amazed at how I have not improved at all, like, slightly.
You think you just picked some things up? I think in some ways we've got worse.
All right, that is over with friends. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Wil Anderson. And he's Dave Anthony.
Dave Anthony.
Yeah. Go Giants.
Go Giants.
Yeah, go Giants. Well, there's a big sound from the west of the town.
It's a sound
of the mighty Giants.
Still American.
You feel the ground are quaking. The other teams are shaking.
The teams are quaking in their boots before the Giants.
We take the biggest strides and the highest leaps. We're stronger than the rest. We're the greater Western Sydney Giants. We're the biggest, and the best. And we...
Listener.